Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Box, where the only opinion that matters is right here. I am Mike Galetta, a.k.a. Hamilton Mike, along with my partner, Brian, the Ranger. It's hard. With another special that eyes will just pop out of your head as normal. Today, we're going to talk a little baseball, and we have the pleasure of having on the line. If you watched the show before the season started, we had him on before. We're going to bring him back. The baseball insider on NBC Sports Radio, Seth Everett. Seth, thanks for joining the show today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
How is everyone?
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. We're living here in New Jersey.
No baseball until Friday.
Yeah, that kind of stinks. But you know what? Leading into that, Seth, that was a hell of an All-Star game last night. I think both the American League and the National League this year is probably one of the best ones we've seen in a while. Both rosters were loaded.
Oh, that's interesting. I did 3 other appearances today, and I got very mixed reviews. I thought it was a very ho-hum game. There were a lot of stars. Do you know that with all the guys that pulled out of the All-Star game, that 79 players can claim to be All-Stars this year?
Wow.
That's 10.5% of the whole league.
Yeah, that's wow.
Everybody's an All-Star this year.
Wow.
It's amazing. No, the things I liked were 26 of the active players were under 27 years old. I thought that was a good thing, and I think that what you'll see is baseball's in good hands. There are plenty of stars. The All-Star game has a bad taste in my mouth. I hate that it counts.
Yeah, I don't either.
6 of the last 7 World Series have been won by the team with home field advantage. In the last 30 years, it's over 70%. So home field advantage in the World Series is a thing. It's a real thing. And it's too valuable to be based on what is really a glorified exhibition. Fans pick the lineups, which I have no problem with. You know, every team has to be represented, which means it's not the best team. It's just, there's so many things. If it's an exhibition, I think it's a great, fun night. But the fact that there's value to the game diminishes it for me.
Well, for me, Seth, I think that, and I agree with you, believe me, I agree with you that it shouldn't count, but I think that they did that just to make it more exciting and to hopefully not turn baseball into like the Pro Bowl in the NFL, which is terrible to watch and just...
Yeah, but they did it as a result. It was reactionary. It wasn't proactive.
Okay.
It was because of the tie in 2002. And that tie was unavoidable. Both teams were played correctly. Vicente Padilla of the Phillies at the time, his elbow tightened up. Okay. And Bob Brenly, the manager of the Diamondbacks at the time, who was managing the National League, he said, "I'm not getting your elbow blown out because of the stupid All-Star game."
Yeah, I agree.
Everyone was so upset. It was such a big deal. Can you imagine if Twitter was there around then?
Oh, yeah. It'd be blowing up big time.
Right, and then they reacted. And I just think it's old. And my pitch to Major League Baseball, and I said this on NBC, and I'll say this again, my pitch to baseball next year, capitalize on Bryce Harper's make baseball fun again, and make the All-Star game fun again.
Yeah.
Make it a cartoon. Make it a big commercial for the sport. They'll play it hard. They showed some footage last night of 1994's All-Star game, and it was a game that went down to the wire. Tony Gwynn scored the winning run in the 9th inning. They were celebrating. They were there, and I tweeted. I said, "But that game didn't count."
Right, yeah.
How did we live? It actually is a turn off. I haven't been to the All-Star game since, well, I was at the 2013 game, and I find it to be disconcerting, this home field advantage.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're at the halfway point here in the season, Seth, and you take a look at the standings, and there's really only one race that's within 5 games. That's in the American League East.
Yeah.
Do you see any other races where some teams just going to come out of nowhere and challenge for the division crown, or do you think we know what the division leaders are at this point, that they might pretty much stay where they are?
Well, it's funny. On the 4th of July, I said that I thought you knew all the 3 National Leagues and the American League West. Since then, Cleveland has expanded their lead, but I still think Kansas City's heard from. I still think the Royals have a run in them. I'm not sure about the Tigers, and I discount the White Sox. So I think the Central might be it, but you're right. Of all the first-place teams, the most vulnerable one is clearly the Orioles. Mm-hmm. They have a rotation that features Ubaldo Jimenez and Yovani Gallardo. Two pitchers who, when I was building a team, I would never imagine that team could be in first place. Now, they're scoring a ton of runs, but I think they're vulnerable. I think Toronto's going to be heard from. I think Boston's going to run in them. I think ultimately the Blue Jays are the best team in that division. And I think, as the season goes, the cream will rise to the top. But you're right. There's a great dogfight in the American League East. It means all these interdivisional games mean something, which is great for viewership. But, yeah, I don't see anybody catching the Nationals. I don't see anybody catching the Cubs, even though the Cubs are their own worst enemy. And I don't think anybody's catching the Giants. Despite the fact that it's an even year, I think the Giants are they're stacked. They look great, and that's a great baseball team.
Yeah, absolutely. And because of that disparity there, Seth, I mean, do you think that you're going to see maybe a lot more teams think that they're out of it and maybe sell a little more this year than maybe we've seen in the past, as opposed to, if you're 3-4 games out, you may look to add because you think you have a shot to get there. Like you said, I mean, some of these races look like they're over already. You think that leads to maybe some more sellers than usual?
Well, the problem with that is the wild card. The existence of the wild card changes everything because, whereas, for example, I think Texas will win their division. I still don't know, though, that the Astros or Seattle won't be heard from. What are they, 2 and 5 games repeated, respectively? Detroit's 4 out. White Sox are 4.5 out. Royals are 4.5 out.
Mm-hmm.
Yankees are 5.5 out.
I definitely think the Royals can get back into this and really make a big run.
Right,
so.
right, and that's what I said about the division. So,
right.
If we're going on that logic, there's a lot of teams that are still technically in it. Look at the National League. St. Louis is a game out. Pittsburgh's a game and a half. Dodgers are a wild card team. The Mets and Marlins are tied for the top spot. I mean, that's a lot of teams. Mm-hmm. And so there aren't as many sellers. Look, we know who the bad teams are. We know Atlanta. We know Milwaukee's going to shop. They're shopping Ryan Braun right now. Cincinnati's bad. We know that. Arizona's interesting because Arizona did what San Diego did last year, which was spend a ton in the offseason, and it's shown up to be pretty much nothing.
Yeah, I was really shocked at that.
Yeah, so. The one thing I said about Arizona in the wintertime is, don't assume that they're all of a sudden going to be great. It just seemed very flashy. It didn't seem very substantive, and I didn't think they'd be this bad. I thought they'd be in it. I didn't think they'd be this bad.
Yeah.
Is there a team there that, I guess from the teams that you mentioned that are close to a wild card, is there a team in that mix that you think won't sell but should because maybe they're not really as close even to the wild card as they think that they are? I say that with one team in mind, considering the Yankees. That's a team that never seems to sell. They're always in that buy mode, but they are 5.5 games out of a wild card here at the break. As an example, I mean, do you see some teams there that should be selling but may not?
Well, the team that has to make the tough decisions are the Yankees. The Yankees are a 500 club, but they're lucky to be a 500 club. They're
Absolutely.
not very good.
Yep.
They remind me of the 2012 and 2013 Phillies. They're a team that is competitive, but that they're past their due, and it's just a matter of time before they come away and find themselves on hard times. The Phillies at the time, if you remember, they needed to do anything to fortify a farm system. I mean, they people were begging for prospects.
Right.
And the Yankees have no prospects to speak of. It's a very interesting parallel. And I think what the Yankees can do is they have 3 chips. They have 3 things that teams in the races want. I can tell you the teams they should go to. Andrew Miller should go to the Cubs. Aroldis Chapman should go to either the Texas Rangers or the Washington Nationals. And Carlos Beltran should go to the San Francisco Giants. And the Yankees, I'm not talking about selling for selling's sake. That was the Phillies mentality. The Phillies mentality is, we have the sellout streak, and the television contract was coming up, and there were so many things that caused the Phillies to be so hesitant to finally cut bait with Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins, and to get to a point of where they couldn't trade those guys when they were chips.
Right.
They didn't have that, so they let it literally fizzle. And, I do this experiment. It's not an experiment. I do this exercise every year where I do uptick and downtick. And it's just a plus arrow and a down arrow. And let's go through the teams and find out how many teams are actually headed in the right direction. The Yankees have been a down arrow for probably 4 years.
Yeah.
The Phillies were a down era probably for 4 years. And so what has to happen, to me, it's not a question of sellers. We in the media get this buyers and sellers mentality. The Yankees are not a bad team if they sell those 3 chips. They're a team that's going to fortify their farm system. And all I ask fans to think of is think R.A. Dickey for Noah Syndergaard and Travis d'Arnaud. The ultimate baseball trade, right? A guy coming off a happy birthday season into 2 stud players. Now, I don't know if both of them are going to turn into Hall of Famers, but that's the kind of deals the Yankees should make. And I think that'll spin off because then everybody else will start shopping.
And Seth, I'm gonna spin you a different way. I know we talked about the Phillies briefly since we're in the Philadelphia market. I'm gonna bring them up. I know we talked at the beginning of the year how we thought the Phillies were going to be a bad team this year, how they were going to be probably one of the worst teams in the league. I mean, they did start off a little good. They started off well. They went down. They had a big streak where they went down and they back up again. Is this a sign of the Phillies that they're going to be on the upswing, or is it just a sign of they're running into a schedule where they're catching the bad teams at the bad times and the good temes at the good times?
Yeah, but step one of becoming a good team is getting to the point of where you beat bad teams. I've been encouraged by Nola. I've been encouraged by Velasquez. I've been, Freddie Galvis has played a decent shortstop. There's pieces there. They're putting it together. Right. This isn't a team that I think is ready to win the division, but I think that they are turning a corner. This was the season that you wanted the Phillies to have 2 years ago. Yep. And it was okay to accept some losing. It was just, it took too long to get to this point of where now you have a bunch of young kids. Goodell is a question, Herrera is a question, Borjos is a question. Yeah. People want to know, are these guys any good? And some days they show flashes. There's definitely flashes of talent. It's just no consistency.
Right, and for a couple of years in this town, the talk has been, J.P. Crawford coming up. He's been coming up, coming down, coming up. Is there a future for this guy with this team? It's consistently with the big club, or is he just going to be a guy who just gets bounced back and forth all the time?
Well, considering the record is what it is, you're trying a lot of different combinations. And, a lot of times fans see young players with high upsides and they, the window dressing all of a sudden looks better. The grass is not always greener. I trust scouts and I trust people that have seen him and that say that he needs more time. And if he needs more time, he needs more time. That's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
So as we move, into that second half, as we said before, to this point, what team would you say has been your biggest surprise and your biggest disappointment so far?
Well, the biggest disappointment is hands down the Angels. The Astros, rather. The Astros, I thought, would win that division. They came out, they really struggled. They were very hamstrung by the way they lost to the Royals in that Game 5, that depressing Game 5 where they blew the lead in the 9th inning and the big comeback. And I just set those young players back. They're playing better now, and they're in the mix for the wild card, and they're in the mix for everything. But what has turned out to be happening is the Astros might be too little too late, but I think they were a huge disappointment. As far as on the upside, it's a team that I called. And that's Miami. I thought Miami would be better. I said it, in spring training, and
I remember you saying that on the show actually too.
Yeah.
It's a shame nobody watches them.
Yeah, and the funny thing is Stanton, who by the way, I love that Stanton did so well in the home run derby. He wasn't an all-star. And
which is crazy. So
it's disconcerting. If you ask me, that's disconcerting because what has happened as a result of that. You had 79 All-Stars.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll get back to 79 All-Stars.
I don't know.
Everybody got a trophy for playing, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just a strange thing. But Miami's good, and Jose Fernandez, you know, even though he shouldn't have said that he was going to groove one to David Ortiz. And, you know, the funny thing is Jose Fernandez has become a legit ace. And, you know, Christian Yelich is a great player. Marcelo Ozuna is a great young player. I mean, there's a lot of talent on that Marlins team. It's not a complete team, but they are about where I thought they would be, actually.
And one more here on the national scale. Who's the one team that nobody's talking about right now that you think could make some noise, not just the rest of the way, but also in the postseason?
Well, nobody's really talking about the San Francisco Giants. You know, the Giants are, you know, first of all, there's a pattern because this is a team that's, you know, won 3 of the last 6 World Championships. Mm-hmm. And, you know, everyone's talking about the Cubs and the Nationals. You know, I think the addition of Cueto, I don't care that he gave up a home run in the AllStar Game. He's been nails. Yeah. Baumgartner's been nails. I mean, they've been great. Yeah. they've been absolutely great. Yeah. And, you know, I think it's really cool. You know, this quirk in the schedule that Baumgartner, who almost threw the no-hitter on Sunday, he pitches their next game.
Yeah.
And it's just, you know, they are the epitome of what's good in baseball. Their ballpark is full. Their television ratings are through the roof. They just signed a new TV deal. You know, they're in a booming town in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. I mean, the Giants games have become what the Phillies games were back in 2009, 2010. And,
I agree.
It's amazing, you know, the Giants. And it's funny because a couple of weeks ago the Giants played the A's, and I said it's literally the best that baseball can offer against the worst that baseball can offer. You know, Oakland plays in a cesspool. And it's literally a cesspool. Yeah. You know, there's plumbing issues, and it's amazing, you know, how some situations are so much different than others.
Now, Seth, I have my last question. Is you talking American and National League? Let me have your 3 teams in each or each, National American that you think have a really good shot to take it all. I mean, obviously the Giants, but I mean, name 3 guys in the National.
I think the division leaders, Washington. First of all, I love Washington.
Right.
I love the Cubs. The Cubs have played 600 ball and they've lost 12 of their last 17. They open up the series against Texas, which is another really good team. It'll remain to be seen just how good the Cubs can be. A lot of people thought the Cubs were going to win 120 games. They still could win 100 games. I mean, they're a very, very good team.
It's a lot of games.
Washington is great.
Yeah.
I think the addition of Dusty Baker, I've said all along, I thought that would be a difference maker. So those are probably my 3 teams. In the American League, you know, everybody's been very high on Cleveland. I'm high on them too, don't get me wrong. Terry Francona is a guy I have a lot of respect for. I actually worked with Terry after he left the Phillies and before he got the Red Sox job. Texas is very, very good. They're a very good team who has responded to adversity a lot. And you know what? I'm not going to discount the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are still the most talented team in their division. There's a nice little dogfight on their hands. I like that because then it gives me excuses to watch. And I watch only you know, once we get to a certain date in the calendar, I only watch games that have playoff implications.
Sure.
The American League East is going to have a lot of them.
It's true. Anything else?
I'm good.
Well, Seth, as usual, it was a pleasure talking to you, pal. I appreciate you giving up some of your valuable time to come on to the Sports Box, and we'll have to get together very soon again and get you back on the show and give us your valuable information.
Hey, thanks for having me, and I appreciate you doing so.
Absolutely. So that's Seth Everett, Baseball Insider on NBC Sports Radio. So that's all the time we have for Sports Box today. Keep an eye out. Got some good things coming, some new episodes. And remember, at the Sports Box, the only opinion that matters is right here. Take care, everybody. Make sure you subscribe. See ya!
Don't forget to subscribe.